Hey there, everybody. How's it going? Hopefully very, very good. Hopefully very, very good. I'm having a great day, too. It is Wednesday, and I have to tell you, I look forward to this stream every week. It's like the middle mark, right? If you can make it to Whiskey Wednesday, you've made it halfway through the week, right? More than that. You only have 2 days left. What's 2 days, right? It's hump day. It's Wednesday. We get to sit back, relax, have a beverage. Doesn't have to be whiskey, right? It could be anything. It could be water, hot cocoa. It doesn't matter. The point is, we're sitting back, relaxing, enjoying a beverage, and listening to some great stories submitted by authors that were brave enough to submit their first chapters for us to check out their works. And as always, if you are interested in the book and you like the way that it's going after reading it here, always check it out. In the links there down below. There's a little bit about our author tonight, L.A. Barnitz, and their story, Stonebound Heir. It's going to be a good one. It's a nice coming-of-age adventure story, and I think you'll enjoy. I did a little quick read-through, got about halfway through it, and the half that I read of the first chapter, fantastic. So I can't wait to finish the rest with you all. And tonight I have a special surprise. I finally figured out, and hopefully it works, how to hook up the audio and video into my actual recording booth. So we're going to try to not only do this thing tonight, we're going to try to record it for realsies. I'll have to edit it afterwards, but as we go, we're going to do the whole thing, like for real, like the punch and roll and everything. So that'll be exciting and nerve-wracking probably for me. So it's going to take me a couple of extra minutes just to get all the way down the stairs into the garage where the booth is, but I'll leave you on a little standby screen until then. So You'll be able to enjoy some music, I guess. So, actually, and that being said, let me make sure I have that over here on this window. All right, and minimized. Cool. Hopefully that'll work. Whiskey Wednesday. And on Instagram, thank you for joining me. If you're there, you actually don't get the things that Twitch and YouTube do. So let me post in there a little bit about the author here so that you can see that. Let's see, it makes me like split it up. So let me, there we go. And there is the rest of it. And then here's a little bit about the book as well that we're going to be reading the first chapter of tonight. See where that leave off. Causes the... right there. Okay. And then here is the link to it right at the very bottom. If you like the story and you want to pick it up. There we go. Always forget I have to do that to Instagram because it doesn't do the whole automation thing. I'm going to try to figure out if there's a way to do that too. I know I keep saying that, but I just haven't had time to sit down and figure that part out because I had to get this other part figured out, which is going to be cool. I think our Whiskey Wednesday is going into next month. I'm going to repeat some of the stories I think that we've done already, give them another shot, and actually record them live. Kind of kill two birds, one stone, get the demos out there, get another kind of free preview of the chapter going. And there you go. So you get a 2-for-1 if you've already been on the show so far. I think that's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty good deal. Whiskey Wednesday. Whiskey Wednesday would not be Whiskey Wednesday without a whiskey. What are we drinking? Boom! Right there. Abasolo. And it is a El Whiskey de Mexico, made with 100% ancestral corn. What does that mean? It means it's good. That's about as far as I go there. We put it over there on the cam. Let's see if we can get a little... Here, turn down the music just a little bit. See if we can get a little... Oh, it was there. It was there. It was there. All right. And I'm cooling down the booth as we speak because it is hot today. So I'm going to be drinking some water in the booth too, that's for sure, because I'm going to be melting in that thing as I have been all week. But I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to trying this out. Hopefully it works and you'll have really good sound quality. I figured out a way to plug the microphone directly into my iPhone that's used as a webcam. So hopefully it works. If not, we got the other booth. We can fail safe. We always have the fail safe, right? Old reliable there. Abasolo. I recommend it if you're looking for something different, like in terms of whiskeys. This is way different than I normally like have. It's like peppery and it's got a sweet edge to it, but that's not the most like pronounced thing, which a lot of like whiskeys and bourbon, I get that like right up front. Right after kind of, you know, the bite of the alcohol, you get like really like nice sweet vanilla flavors in some things, like bourbons especially. Get a little bit of that that barrel in there too, the oakiness in some of them. But this, it's so different. It's like hard to describe it. Like, yeah, like peppery and spicy, but not like hot spicy, like different spices in it than I normally get from a whiskey. It's good. Recommend it. Try it out. That is good. That is good. All right. So, like I said, we're going to be reading the first chapter of Stonebound Heir by L.A. Barnitz. And it is fantastic so far. Miss Barnitz has really written some pretty good stuff, and I'm excited to get into it. So, what I'm going to do is put you on a real brief, like, standby. Or maybe I just realized I didn't do the standby stream for the Instagram, so you won't see it. Huh. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll leave Instagram here and then manually switch it over when I get into the booth. I didn't think about that one. It's the growing pains. It's the growing pains, right? All right. So let me try that. Yeah. Hopefully this works. Crossing my fingers. Hopefully you're all having a good night. Hopefully this goes well. And hopefully see you there. Steve Corona, how's it going? You made a stream, my friend. You made a stream, my friend. Are you drinking anything tonight? Drinking anything tonight? Steve Corona, if you don't know, is also a fantastic audiobook narrator, master of dialects. Check out his website. I think it's Steve Corona Productions. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve. I know he probably hates it when I do this, but I don't care. I like Steve, and he needs to be shouted out because he's amazing. And thank you for joining the stream, my friend. Stick around for as long as you can. You're in for something special. I don't know if you heard, but crossing my fingers, I hope I got the booth that I actually record from working tonight so we can actually do a no-kidding recording of the first chapter of Stonebound Heir tonight. Two birds, one stone. I mean, I'll have to do a little bit, editing after the fact, some post stuff. But hey, all the recording will be done, which is the hard part, right? Right. Yeah, so let's step into the booth. Going to take me just a few minutes to get down there, and I'm going to grab a bottle of water on the way because it's hot in that booth. And I will see you there, hopefully, here in just a bit. But if you're on Instagram, you're just going to see my chair. Keep it company. The chair gets lonely, Keep it company. Maybe have a conversation. Maybe it'll talk back. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not. This guy farts at me all the time. I don't know what would a chair say. I have no idea. Anyways, let's get going to the booth, shall we? Okay. Maybe? Oh, there we go. Okay, so here we go to the booth. Perfect. Okay, and then you on Instagram. I'll be right back. Keep the chair company. All right. I'll be right back. Okay. Let me see here. There, grab this. Don't forget that. Okay. All right. Hope this all works. Okay. I hope this works. Hopefully you can see me and hear me. You know what I didn't think of is when I have this actually switched over to hey Hearthside, how's it going? Hopefully you can hear me there. Let's see here. Check out Hearthside Gaming's channel there. Also a fantastic audiobook narrator. Hopefully you can hear me. And if anybody that is waiting, or watching rather, can let me know if you can hear me, that would be fantastic. Hopefully y'all can. Looks like there might be, oh, it might be this. Turn off the air conditioner. Can't have that going. Can't have that going. All right. You sound fantastic. Okay, good. All right, awesome. Cool. This is the recording booth. So we can actually do the thing. I am going to have to figure out how I'm going to be able to watch chat while recording. I didn't think of that because I only have one monitor in the booth because that's all I ever need, right? And hopefully the sound is coming through from the PC so that when our half an hour hit, like on the hour, every half hour, on the hour or two, Twitch likes to run ads. So when that happens, you'll hear the Old Spice jingle, and when you hear that, that's our cue to take a break, and we'll talk for a little bit, and we'll do as we do, and then we'll go back right after the ad break. So I think it's about 1:30, I think, for the ad breaks usually. I don't think they're much longer than that, and then we'll continue. If I miss that, I apologize. I'll work that out for next time. I think I should be able to hear the jingle when it comes through. As a matter of fact, I might be able to, let me see. you know, if I unmute myself real quick, I should be able to hear myself through the computer that's upstairs into the booth. Let's try that, and then I'll know if I'm going to hear the jingle or not when it comes through as a map. Yes, I will. Okay, so I'll get the audio cue, so hopefully I hear it. It's a little low. And then we'll go from there. Hopefully you all can hear this too.
Narrated by Justin Fife.
It was narrated by me. That was an article for Tumbleweird. It's a newspaper out of the Tri-Cities area in Washington, and they have narrators like myself narrate the newspaper articles for those that can't see, so they can go and navigate to the audio source, and they can listen to it and get the newspaper articles in the Tri-City areas, which is really cool. I'm actually originally from Seattle, so Tri-Cities it's a little ways away from Seattle, but it's in that area, so it's cool in that, like, a lot of the places that they bring up, a lot of the local places, like if I do read an article for a local bakery or something, and they're talking about, in Tukwila or Snohomish or Puyallup or whatever. I don't have to look at the pronunciation guide because I'm from there, right? But it's cool. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I've been there, It's kind of reminiscent, like, oh, it's kind of home. But anyways, so, all right. So I think, yeah, okay. So you should be able to see that. Cool. And then, I didn't think of this. All right. Well, what I'll try to do is I'll check in with y'all when it comes to break time. Or if I hear something like a raid happens or something, then I'll go ahead and stop and kind of take a look at what's going on, because otherwise you're going to get like a stream inception, like window and window and window, which probably already happened there. So I can't really like pull that up, but let me get this going on here, and then we'll get that going full screen, and then we'll start on the recording. Oh, that's a huge text. Okay, there we go. That's a little better. It is already cooking in here. All right, let me close this out. Sound check good. No, I don't want to save changes. Oh, it's the music. I'm like, what is that noise? Stop. All right. Okay, so let's see here. So we're going to want to do this. Come on. Oh, clicking on the wrong thing. Confusing myself with the inception. You can do it. Maybe. Switch. Why isn't it switching? There we go. All right. Okay. We don't want to do a movie review, do we? No, we do not. Let's do its own folder for Whiskey Wednesday. How's that sound? And then this one is going to be Stonebound Heir. All right. This is stuff I should set up before we start streaming. Now we know. We're going to do a raw 32-bit vote float. Okay, Stonebound Heir. This will be raw. All right, here we go. Using PreSonus's Studio One, just because I like the macros that are in it. All right, cool. Looks like we're getting signal. Do a quick recording check. Chapter 1, test. With each swing of the axe. Chapter 1, test. With each swing of the axe. Cool. We're good. We can start recording. All right, here we go. Take a quick double drink. Calm the nerves. Get that grit going. And then hydrate. Because I'm going to lose like 10 pounds of body weight through sweat. All right. Here we go. Chapter 1. With each swing of the axe, sweat trickled down Sid's face and back. His own stink disgusted him. Cutting wood had been one of his chores from the time he had been strong enough to hold an axe, and he hated it more than anything in the world. His daydreams were colored by vague plans of slipping into the alehouse the next time he and the Red Giant took game to the village. He had decided... I think my stomach gurgled right in the middle of that. His daydreams were colored by vague plans of slipping into the alehouse the next time he and the Red... Yep, real slight, but it was there. Let's try that again, shall we? World. His daydreams were colored by vague plans of slipping into the alehouse the next time he and the Red Giant took game to the village. He had decided he would deliver the proprietor's venison personally and tell him he was looking for work. I'm a good worker, yes, sir, Sid mumbled. He cleared his throat and deepened his voice. As trustworthy as they come, he said, taking another swing at the last tree he had felled in the forest that morning. A willing learner, thwack. Can I handle coin? Thwack. Of course, I could do sums in my sleep. After a couple of tries, his lines improved, but he felt the words weren't sufficient. Putting aside the axe, he picked up a branch and mimed how he would throw the venison down on the bar as if it were nothing. This enactment was in its second rehearsal when he noticed a woman hardly a stone's throw away. His speech died on his lips. She stood in the forest's shade, just beyond the felled tree he had been breaking down. Sunlight had managed to reach one slender hand pressed to her chest, and the light caught upon her rings. He met her eyes, which glittered as bright as her ornaments. How long has she been standing there? And how much has she heard? He dropped the branch and tried to think of what to say. Words were not coming. Finally, she tilted her head and said, I hope I am not disturbing you. I did not intend to interrupt your work. No, he stammered, coming to his senses and giving a small bow. I mean, you're not disturbing me, madam. One of the woman's dark eyebrows arced upwards. Do you know who I am? Sid thought. I know you're rich and beautiful, but all he did was shake his head. I am Velena Shanhatra. Let's try that one more time. You're who? Sandhyatra. I'm going to stumble across all these tonight. If I had the little button in my booth, that's what I need to get in here is the little, I messed up, made a flub. I don't have that in the booth. Sandhyatra. Hayatara, House Duran Maharani of Saatkulom. Okay. Velena Sandhyarta Hayatara, Sandhyatara of House Duran Maharani of Saatkulom. Okay. Sandhyatara. I am Velena Sandhyatara of the House of Duran, Maharani of Saatkulom. Saatkulom? The 7 houses? Sid had never met a tinker professing to be from that faraway realm, much less its ruler. Why a Rani from Saatkulom would be in the western woods puzzled him, but whether she spoke truly or not, it was plain she was off far better standing. It was plain. But whether she... Let's try that again. And I lost my place immediately. I have to get used to this whole shit up. That is the sound, and I heard it, yay, that we are actually heading towards our break. So we'll pause there anyways, and we'll just we'll shoot the breeze for a little bit. Enjoy our whiskey, if we will, right? Let me pull up chat and see if you guys are said anything so far. Okay. Let me make this a little bigger. Oy. I love the book cover, by the way. Beautiful. Yeah, it's really... That's one thing. These last couple of books that I've read the first chapter of, the cover art, just beautiful. This one is no exception. So whoever did your art, if you're listening to this now or later, keep them on payroll. You know what I mean? Unless you did it, hey, then pay yourself double. Let's see here. I like how you did Sid's voice. Well, thank you. Thank you. I wish I could read your name. Is it Vivek Sen? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think he's going to be a little bit younger, is kind of what I was thinking. So I didn't want to like deepen him up or anything like, So just kind of, oh, and Centurion, thanks for the link there in Twitch. Check out Centurion's channel if you get a chance. He, if you don't know, is the #1 black hat wearing Australian streamer in the world. Now you know. Check him out. There you go. Oh, and I've hidden Instagram. Anybody say anything on Disc Golf Show? Hey, there's it going. And then people saying they can hear me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's like, Studio One looks great. Yeah, it's I like it. I've used a lot of almost every DAW you can think of to record into, and it's my favorite just because of the macros and one key feature. It has this feature where it actually starts recording before you hit the record button, like 5 or 10 seconds beforehand, so it's already listening. And that might seem weird, but when you're punching in, like when I make a mistake and have to go back and re-record over it, sometimes you don't get the timing just right because there's a little bit of a delay, the interface into the computer, into the microphone, and the blah, 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 right? There's just a little bit of a delay. So sometimes you can punch back in and there's a pause, like you catch yourself in the middle of a word, right? Or you're pausing awkwardly into it or into the middle of a breath. Well, it's already been recording. So you can take that little bit of audio, slide it over physically, and then recover the part that didn't get recorded or cut off, or that little breath you can cut off. It has saved me so many retakes, especially because, you're done after like an hour or two in the booth and you go back and you're like, oh, I did that 10 minutes in. You have to go back in and shift everything over. It's kind of a pain, but it saves all that. So that's one thing I love about Studio One that's not in some of the other recording software, which is another reason that I like to use it. I've been using Adobe Audition since I could, like in high school. I think it was Cakewalk or something back then. But I've been using it for a long time. So when I go to edit, I'll actually edit in Audition because I'm just more familiar with it. But I've recorded in Reaper. I've done mostly music in that, but I've done like audio dramas and one audiobook in Reaper. I've recorded a whole bunch of stuff in Audition, and then a little bit in Pro Tools when I was messing more around with like music. And I've used Logic once, but I don't have a Mac now, so I don't really use that one. Oh, the cover art. Hey, LA Barnitz is here. Thank you very much for joining. Hopefully I'm not butchering your story. The cover art is by Christina Bensina. Oh, cool. Okay. Well, hey, keep them on the payroll. People are digging the artwork. I'm getting some people saying that they like it in YouTube. All right. Okay, I think I've caught up. I think our ad break is over, and we can step back in to narrating our story here, our first chapter. All right, so where we leave off. Told him, but whether she spoke true. Okay. Okay. Might actually scroll back a little bit. Why a Ronnie from right there. So let's pick up right here and then go from there. Ruler. Why a Rani from Saatkulom would be in the western woods puzzled him. But whether she spoke truly or not, it was plain she was of far better standing than him. Blood rushed to his cheeks at the thought of the nonsense he'd been saying and how badly he smelled. Kneeling with head bowed, He stared at the forest floor. The silence between them stretched out until he could not resist the urge to look up. Too well dressed to be a villager, too well spoken to be a common bandit. Might have had a little tummy gurgle there. Let's hear. Too well dressed to be a villager, too well spoken to be a common bandit. Nope, didn't catch it. Cool. A small smile twitched at the corners of her lips. She ordered him to stand. What if she is a Rani? Trying to make himself as tall as possible, Sid's heels barely touched the insides of his boots. Are you lost, Maharani? He finally spat out, and a stream of words followed. I could lead you and your party, to the village. Help you, I suppose. I know the road that goes to Mephiston, and even the trails to the north. A little bit too unsure. Let me try that again. And a stream of words followed. I could lead you and your party, to the village. Help you, I suppose. You know the road that goes to... Not you, I. You, I suppose. I know the road that goes to Mephiston, and even the trails to the north. Help you, I suppose. I know the road that goes... I'm going to shorten that up just a little bit. A little bit of editing time now saves you a lot of time later, you know what I mean? Oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay. Help you, I suppose. I know the road that goes to... to the village. Help you, I suppose. I know the road that goes to Mephiston, and even the trails to the north. Okay. To the north. She laughed a little, and his heart hiccuped at the clear, silvery sound. I am not lost, I can assure you, she said. Blue slippers peeped out from under the hem of her long skirt, and she glided toward him as if she walked on a floor of marble instead of uneven ground covered with brush and splintered pieces of wood. I am seeking a few recruits who are willing to work hard. Do you know of any youth in this area who might be willing to join service in Safed Kilar? Have you heard of our capital? You see, I have employed many of our denizens on another project. Quite a magnificent project, though it cost me dearly. I find that we require more people, servants, stewards, artisans, miners, guards, practically every occupation. Yes, Maharani. No. Sid shook his head, dizzy with the realization that this might be a great piece of luck, and squandered luck was an insult to the ancestors. There are some people in the village, not many, but I, for one, am seeking such employment. I see, she said. She stood hardly an arm's length from him. Are you the kind of young man that the Seven require? Intelligent? Willing to learn the skills necessary to preserve our realm? Sid knew the answer. Sometimes my Bluetooth cuts out, and I have to, pull up the Bluetooth devices again to, get it to register. It's so annoying. All right. Sid knew the answer. There we go. Whew, sweating already. All right. Preserve our realm. She stood hardly an arm's length from him. Are you the kind of young man that the Seven require? Intelligent? Willing to learn the skills necessary to preserve our realm? Sid knew the right answer, but again words fled from him. He nodded. For cycles he had wished for a life where he had the chance of escaping these woods and proving... That's a tummy rumble. For cycles he had wished for a life where he had... Yeah, I'm just going to take it from there. Quiet down, Tommy. Trying to record. Nodded. For cycles, he had wished for a life where he had the chance of escaping these woods and proving he could be more than a woodcutter. He knew he could, no matter what others might say. This is her. He knew he could, no matter what others might say. I don't like that one. Let me try that again. Woodcutter. He knew he could, no matter what others might say. All those who serve are duly rewarded, but since the last season of fly fever, all those who serve are duly rewarded. All those who serve are duly rewarded, but since the last season of fly fever, we have not recruited youth from families who need their members' strength at home. Would your family not miss you? The word rewarded rang so loudly in his head, Sid almost didn't hear her question. Yes, I suppose, but they don't mind me joining your service. It would be an honor. The woman pressed her lips with one finger, as if she were considering a complex equation. But surely your parents won't want you to leave them? I don't have parents, Sid said quickly, and he was immediately struck with worry that he might have to explain himself. Let's quicken that up a little bit. I don't have parents, Sid said quickly, and he was immediately struck with worry that he might have to explain his circumstances to such a degree that the horrible dullness of his life would end this conversation. I have a guardian, and he's good to me, but my mother died when I was very small. I never knew my parents. How terrible to lose your family so young. If there was even the tiniest chance that she was telling the truth, he couldn't miss this opportunity. Maharani, Sid said, if you will have me, I know I would serve you well. A lifetime here would not suit me half as well as guarding your realm for a day. Of course, you want to join our defenses. Every boy does. What is your name? Of course. Of course you want to join our defenses. Every boy does. What is your name? Sid Sol. I've completed 14 sun cycles. Sid Sol, she said softly. The air pulsed with heat. The woman pushed back her long dark hair, revealing a brass brooch shaped like an upright blade on her shoulder. She pulled a pouch from her pocket. Should you join my service, this is your first cycle's wage, she said. There is no guarantee you will be invited to become a defender, but you will serve the realm for better or worse for a full cycle. Give this to your guardian. It may ease your leaving. Thank you. I will, Maharani, he said brightly. If I go right now, If I go right now and collect my things, I can return here before nightfall. The woman held out the pouch to him, but did not let go when he grasped it. She raised her other hand in warning. It is too late for my party to move on tonight. Go home and think about the choice you are making. If you decide to join us, you will meet me here at dawn at the edge of the wood along the road that lies beyond the meadow. If you decide not to join us, you will meet me there just the same to return my coin. Come alone. That gave Sid pause. Could she be a slaver planning to kidnap me? But That gave Sid pause. Could she be a slaver planning to kidnap me? But why would a Mephistiani, I think. Planning to kidnap me? But why would a Mephistiani offer me gold and give me a choice? With a warm smile, the woman released the pouch to him, and he bowed again before starting toward the trail home. Remembering his axe, he returned to retrieve it and bowed to the woman several more. The trail home. Remembering his axe. The trail home. Remembering his axe, he returned to retrieve it. The trail home. Remembering his axe, he returned to retrieve it and bowed to the woman several more times before he finally hurried away. The weight of the pouch in his hand made him happy. At last, something was happening in his life. Who knew who this woman was, but coin was coin. He would have... It's coin. He would have to do some spying to learn who she was and who was in her party before they met that morning. Was coin. He would have to do some spying to learn who she was and who was in her party before they met in the morning. Yes, the woods witch would agree with that. The witch visited their cabin from time to time. The witch visited their cabin from... Yeah, my shoulder snapped and it caught it. Let's... That. The witch visited their cabin from time to time when she sold medicines in the nearby village. He was certain she'd be pleased he was thinking before acting, a phrase she often repeated, even if his thinking was still a few steps behind his hopes and dreams. Frog in my throat. Start again. Even if... A phrase she often repeated, even if his thinking... often repeated. Tummy rumbles. Give me a second. Often repeated. Even if his thinking was still a few steps behind his hopes and dreams. Too bad she isn't around to offer advice today, Sid thought. But he had bigger problems. Much bigger. His... Tummy rumbles. I ate dinner right before stream, and I wait at least an hour before I record, normally after I eat, because otherwise it's just stomach doesn't want to shoot up. When I've been in the other booth doing Whiskey Wednesdays, the setup and how I have it there, it's not turned up to a point where you can hear the tummy rumbles usually. But in here, you can hear a gnat fart in here. But because I have this thing up pretty good and it's really sensitive, which is kind of why I need to be in the booth to even record with this, because you'll hear everything, which is good, just not if you're not in a soundproof-ish environment, right? Pros and cons, right? Pros and cons. Really sensitive, but that means it picks up the gurgles, which is annoying and frustrating. Sometimes. All right, where are we at? Much bigger. Much bigger, yeah. A giant, maybe. Bigger. His guardian, Red, was a giant, almost twice the height of an Ascarian, and Sid feared that he might not be as excited about the prospect of his leaving as the woman had. As Ascarian. I think I said Ascarian. I don't think that's right. I think it's Ascarian. And Sid feared that he might not be as excited about. His guardian, Red, was a giant, almost. Let's just do the whole thing over. Bigger. His guardian, Red, was a giant, almost twice the height of an Ascarian, and Sid feared that he might not be as excited about the prospect of his leaving as he had told the woman. Not that Red became excited about much of anything, but there had been something in his guardian's grunted response when Sid had recently proposed working in the village alehouse that made him suspect he might not support his venture. Alehouse. That made him suspect he might not support this venture either. And when Red said no to something, and when Red said no to something, it was nearly impossible to get around him. How am I going to explain this? Sid tucked the pouch of coins far down into his pants pocket. He had the whole night. He didn't have to blurt everything out at once. No, I have to find the right way to tell him. At the edge of the clearing where their cabin sat, Sid slowed down and made an effort to hide his excitement. By the time he entered the open doorway, he was the picture of weariness. The Red Giant, so called by everyone in the western woods because he was a giant and because of his wiry reddish-brown hair, was straining in the evening's milk through a cloth. Without so much as glancing at Sid, he said in his deep, slow voice, "Was the wood brittle or tender?" "Mostly tender," Sid said, stashing the axe behind the door. "I didn't cut more than 2 ranks." "It is time to move to the northern slope." Sid pulled out a chair and started to sit. "The ones that depend on you must be fed first," Red said. "Then we eat." Sid sighed. He left the cabin and crossed the yard that lay between their home and the barn. Instead of feeding the animals inside, he climbed up into the loft. In the dull light of dusk, he sat in the hay near the open window and dug the pouch out of his pocket. One by one, he set the coins on his pant leg. 5 gold coins. Each was embossed on one side with a sun and 7 stars, and on the other with the word Saatkulom. "By the moons and stars, 3 of these will see me set up in my own alehouse." By the moons and stars, 3 of these will see me set up my own alehouse. That leaves 1 for Red to buy axes and whatever else he fancies, and 1 to keep Lee suited and booted for life. What kind of fool would return these and tell Maharani for life? What kind of fool would return these and tell a Maharani no? While he examined his treasure, a familiar voice called out from below. "What are you doing? I'm hungry, and we're waiting for you." Dropping the coins back into the pouch and shoving it into his pocket, Sid leaped down through the loft door and landed on his feet with a bounce, his hands on his hips. "What's for supper?" "Sticks and stones," answered a girl half a head taller than him and thin as a switch. Lingli's white hair and pale skin and eyes contrasted sharply with the black cloak she wore to protect her and hide the ugly vein in her temple. Was she odd? Yes. Annoying? Yes. But no more so than the giant they lived with, Sid thought, and hardly worthy of the reaction she incited in others. She believed herself cursed, and maybe she was, but he was done tiptoeing around her. If she had lost her spirit, it wasn't his fault. The best thing he could do was tease and rankle her until she lost her temper like she used to. "If you cooked, that's what it will taste like," he said. More tummy rumbles. Stew. "If you cooked, that's what it will taste like," he said. Lingli gave him a shove and ran toward the cabin. "You didn't feed the chickens." "You're a thorn," Sid yelled, but she was already gone. All evening he kept patting his pocket and wondering how to tell Red and Lee about the woman's proposition. The giant served their food without a word. Lee hummed her way through supper, repeating a melody over and over with little changes as she composed it. "Stop it," Sid said. "You're driving me crazy." "I thought you liked music." "Real music and real singers are fine. You sound like a wounded rabbit." "Put the words to it, then you'll like it better," she said, and she started humming the tune again. "Okay, here it is. A bony maiden pale as snow tripped on a rock and stubbed her toe. She was so blasted proud that she never cried aloud, and then she died before the cock could crow. She never cried aloud, and then she died before the cock could crow. Cried aloud, and then she died before the cock could crow. Is that the best you can do? Boring tune, boring lyrics. Boring Sid, boring lyrics. As the evening stretched on, Sid grew more restless. Each member of the household performed their chores. As the evening stretched on, Sid grew more restless. Each member of the household performed their chores with spirit-numbing predictability. Restless. Each member of the household performed their chores with spirit-numbing predictability. Lee cleaned their thallus and cups with ash from the fireplace. The giant twisted long stems of horsegrass and grash? Is that a word? Is today. The fireplace. The giant twisted long stems of horsegrass. No, now it sounds weird to me. The fireplace. The giant twisted long stems of horsegrass and reeds into bundles that he would eventually use to mend the roof. Sid sat on a stool near the door, sharpening his small axe on the giant's massive one. They have no idea of bigger things, no notion of the world, and they're not even curious. They like it this way. He watched the giant get up from his huge chair, stretch, and step outside the cabin, where he spent several long minutes standing perfectly still, giant still, and staring into the night sky. Though everyone seemed to know about giants and have a tale to tell, Sid had never seen another, and knew very little about the one he lived with. Whenever he and Lee had pestered Red with questions about where he came from, the giant had only told them he had lived in a mountain in the east, and there had been a war. A war, Sid recalled, between giants and Ascarians from Duvasa and Saatkulom. Duvasa, I think, maybe. Ascarians from Duvasa and Saatkulom. Okay, let's try that again. A war, Sid recalled. The giant had only told them he had lived in a mountain he came from. The giant had only told them he had lived in a mountain in the he came from. It's kind of an awkward. Let me back up further. Whenever he and Lee had pestered Red with questions about where he came from, the giant had only told them he had lived in a mountain in the east, and there had been a war. A war, Sid recalled, between giants and the Ascarians. Ascarians? No, Ascarians. That's how I said it before, right? And there had been a war. A war, Sid recalled, between the giants and the Ascarians from Duvasa and Saatkulom. Okay. Here we go. War. A war, Sid recalled, between giants and Ascarians from Duvasa and Saatkulom. Would raising the name of Saatkulom work against him when he told the giant about the woman's out? A war, Sid recalled, between giants and Ascarians from... I said Ascarians, kind of weird. Let me do that again. Ascarians. Yins, right? Yins. A war. A war, Sid recalled, between giants and Ascarians from Duvasa and Saatkulom. Would raising the name of Saatkulom work against him when he told the giant about the woman's offer? But that war was so long ago. If her word is true, why shouldn't Red allow me to go? I'm not his child, after all. We all must find our way in this world, and we all, child after all, we all must find our way in this world, and when am I going to have a better offer? Yet the more Sid pondered how to explain, the more he became convinced that involving Red would doom the entire proposition. The giant took his role as guardian seriously, used to reassure him, but Red's protectiveness and his obtuse answers to questions about the past had become irksome. All Red would say about Sid's arrival at the cabin, for example, was that he and his mother had appeared in the meadow one day. He was barely weaned. She was a young woman called Afsana. She weaned. She was a young woman called Afsana, though she was afraid of Red. She was a young woman called Afsana. Though she was afraid of Red at first, Afsana eventually brought him into the cabin and ate enough food for 5 men. When Sid asked where Afsana had come from, Red said she never told him. And when Afsana died, just a few seasons later, after coming back from the village with supplies, a fever set upon her, and she was gone within days. Oh, I'm like, why did that sound weird? Because I said it wrong. And when Afsana told him. And then Afsana died. Just a few seasons later, after coming back from the village with supplies, a fever set upon her, and she was gone within days. Red said he could not risk the fever spreading to him or Lingli, so all that remained of his mother, her body, her clothes, even her bed covers, were burned. The only mark of her presence were her cairn on the edge of the meadow and the tributes Sid made to her before the little shrine he kept next to the hearth. Of the meadow. The only mark of her presence were her cairn on the edge of the meadow and the tribute Sid made to her before the little shrine he kept next to the hearth. I don't like where I took my catch breath. Let's try that again. Burned. The only mark of her presence were her cairn on the edge of the meadow and the tribute Sid made to her before the little shrine he kept next to the hearth. Having no memory of Afsana and being unable to extract more from Red, Sid had asked Lingli what his mother was like, but all she would say was that she had a funny accent, pretty hair, and liked to make delicious stuffed parathas. I think that's right. Parathas? Pretty hair and liked to make delicious stuffed parathas. Let's look that up, shall we? Parathas. Let's see here. Ooh, those look good. Paratha. Ooh, let's see how to say it correctly, shall we?
Learn Italian with...
Not logged into my YouTube account. All right.
You are looking at how to pronounce the name of this dish, an Indian fried flat bread.
Okay.
For more Indian cuisine names of delicious dishes from India, make sure to stay tuned. Locally, it's said as paratha.
Paratha. Okay. Got it. Audio engine stopped. No. Let's save. All right. Hopefully, that doesn't mean the whole thing stopped, and you all can still hear me. Oh. Tallies. Aha. I said that word wrong. Well, we got to go back and redo that one. All right. I'll make a note for myself. Talese. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, where are we at? We're on, before I lose my place here. Okay, and that was on page 8. Okay. Let's search for the word. Okay, this is ta. Please. Okay. I'll go back and change that later. And for now, we'll keep going. Paratas. Parata, right? Okay, and I think, let me just double check. Make sure that didn't stop every, okay, cool. So you all can still hear. Good. All right, let's go back to it. All right. Pretty hair. Test. Okay, cool. All right, I just stopped momentarily, it looks like. All right, one more time.
Parata.
Parata. Okay. I got the garage light turned off on me, and that's fine. Pretty hair and like to make delicious stuffed parathas. Paratas. Okay. Having no memory of Afsana and being unable to extract more from Red, Sid had asked Lingli what his mother was like. Lingli, what his mother was like. There we go. Mother was like. But all she would say was that she had a funny accent, pretty hair, and liked to make delicious stuffed paratas. He didn't think Lee was trying very hard, being well aware that she knew even less about her own origins, and any discussion of parents or ancestors made words catch in her throat like barbed hooks. Lingli might not want to think about where she came from, but Sid... Hooks. Lingli might not want to think about... Hooks. Lingli might not want to think about where she came from, but Sid never ceased to unravel the mystery of his history. Everyone knew what one's... Ah, right there, see? Barbed hooks. Lingli might... See, I like cut off, but boop, I can recover it. Oh, miracle. Barbed hooks. Lingli might... There we go. Okay. It's history. Everyone knew that one's destiny depended on the opinion of one's ancestors, and he had no idea who his were. Ancestors, and he had no idea of who... Ancestors, and he had no idea who his were. This bothered him so much that he had made a simple shrine from willow limbs, keeping a stone from Afsana's cairn with it, as well as a cup of water and a piece of roti. Red said nothing about his construct, but Lee rolled her eyes whenever he knelt before it, unsure of what to do with his offerings. He tried to never let her see how her dismissals hurt, but it was greatly... was greatly relieved when he found an ally. Though the witch was likely as Lee to find fault with him on any small thing, she was pleased when she saw the shrine. Patiently teaching him how to say the proper words of respect and appreciation, she assured Sid that his ancestors would show favor, whether he knew their names or not. Even better, in Sid's opinion, she rebuked Lingli for scoffing at him. "We are travelers in this world only a brief time." I don't like that voice. We are travelers in this world. We are travelers in this world only a brief time. Maybe we'll make her like kind of shaky. Is she an old witch? Is she a young witch? We'll make a decision. And we'll go with it. At him. "We are travelers in this world only a brief time, but life in the starlit halls of our ancestors is eternal," she once told him while Lee sat mending clothes nearby. "You may choose to make tributes and sustain their spirits, just as your descendants' tributes will sustain blah, blah, blah. As your You may buy. You may choose to make tributes and sustain their spirits, just as your descendants' tributes will sustain yours. Or you can ignore the ancestors and wander lost in the world. Or you can ignore the ancestors and wander lost in the other world after you die. Try not to be an idiot." From then on, Sid had made a practice of offering a tribute each night. These venerations both eased his heart and annoyed Lee. They also reminded him that she and the giant were not his true family. As the moons passed, this message brought him to a stark conclusion. Red and Lee could not guide him, and there were no answers here. When he accepted this, one equally plain thought followed. It was up to him to seek his destiny as soon as he could figure out how. As the witch often said, the only way forward is forward. Sid never looked at his idea head on. Sid never looked at this idea head on, never planned the how or when or where to, but for the last several moons, the thought had become as loud as his own heartbeat. He had to leave this place as soon as possible. Beyond the open doorway and high above the giant, Sid watched wispy clouds sail across the waning moon and its companion, a smaller reddish moon that appeared every 17 cycles and stayed for 3 before disappearing again. Everyone knew these 3 bright cycles were ill-starred and prone to calamities, and some said the gates between this world and the other world opened more easily when 2 moons shone. Ascarans tread carefully in such times, Sid as much as anyone, and he eyed the sinuous mist that had climbed up from the creek and spilled onto their yard with suspicion. With his arms full of wood, the giant re-entered the cabin and kicked the door closed behind him. Sid sighed, annoyed that he knew exactly how the giant would place the wood in the fireplace and arrange the coals to keep the fire burning until dawn. "He wouldn't care if I left, would he? Surely not when he sees the gold." "You should go to bed," Lee said. "I'm not tired." "You say that every night, and then you can't get up in the morning." "Stop nagging me." A rumbling noise from the giant warned them to stop arguing. In short order, Red would be snoring loud enough to drive off bears, and Lee would sew for a while, then be off to the garden and her other night chores. As tempted as he was to tell them about the meeting of chores, as tempted as he was to night chores, as tempted as he was to tell them about meeting Irani just to prove that every day chores, as tempted as he was to tell them about meeting Irani just to prove that every day didn't have to be like the one before, the risk seemed too great. Sid paced around the room a couple of times before Sid paced around the room a couple of times before sitting by the fire and asking, if a person was going to join the guard of a realm, what skills would he need? One of Red's eyes rolled in his direction. Strength, skill with weapons, loyalty to the Lord. A guard must protect the powerful and things the powerful love. Lee paused. Lee paused her sorting through bits and pieces of yarn and asked, "What's the difference between a guard and a soldier?" "Both are defenders," Red said. Guards defend the Lord's stronghold. Soldiers defend the Lord's will in the field, sometimes in other realms. I wouldn't let you guard a chicken coop, Lee told him. Well, I guess that's not a problem for you because you're not a lord, nor even a noble. The red giant shifted in his chair and frowned at him. A guard, like a soldier, serves without question, no matter what he is asked to do, no matter if he doesn't agree, no matter if he has to kill. Such a pronouncement from Red, who could go days without speaking to them at all, made a small knot begin to twist in Sid's stomach. But it's a good living, too, Sid insisted. A guard can earn a good bit of coin every cycle. How would you know? Lee asked. If I was a guard, we could have good food every season. I could build a fine house and build you one, too. And a little too hesitant. If I was a guard... If I was a guard, we could have good food every season. I could build a fine house and build you one, too. And we could have new clothes. Who says we need anything finer than this? Besides, Tommy grumbled. Stop grumbling. And we could have new clothes. Clothes. Who says we need anything finer than this? Besides, you would likely lose the coin before you could spend it. You don't know everything, Lee. She grabbed her cloak and a vegetable basket. True, but you don't either. She grinned at him as if she had won the argument and left the cabin. What's the point of telling her anything? Whatever I do, she'll always treat me like a joke. She wouldn't know good fortune if it slapped her. Tommy grumbled. Her. He paced around the cabin's main room, knowing the giant watched him. You cut 2 ranks today? Red asked. Yes, the axe went dull halfway through the first one. Cutting wood builds strength for wielding weapons. Hunting improves scouting. Sid improves scouting. I don't like it. Weapons. Okay. Weapons. Hunting improves scouting. Sid gingerly kicked at an ember that had spilled onto the hearth. He feared he was giving his secret away. I think I'll go to bed. He left his boots by the door and went to his cot at the back of the cabin, but he didn't sleep. He wished he could find a way to tell them that this was his chance to find his path in the world. But what if Red said no? What if they wanted to go with him to meet the woman? No, he was simply going to make sure she was the Rani of Saatkulom, and if she was, he would go. If she wasn't, he wouldn't. With his tattered piece of a plan in mind, Sid spent hours convincing himself that this was the best course of action before he finally fell asleep. Soon after, he awoke with a start from a dream he couldn't remember. Creeping over to the cabin window and peeking under the edge of the oilcloth, he was alarmed to see that the night was growing pearly around the edges. As quietly as possible, he pulled a small trunk from under his cot and removed his good kurta, a scarf, and the kufi Lee had embroidered for him, all of which he pushed into a sack. I have no idea if I said any of that right. All right, let's see here. I think we blew past our last break because it was supposed to happen on the hour, and I don't remember hearing the jingle. So I might have missed it. I apologize. But just checking in with y'all, see how you doing. All right, cool. Back to it. All of which he pushed into a sack. All right, let's look up some of these here. Maybe our friendly YouTube man will have ways to say how to say. Not that these are always right, by the way, but for a quick lookup, usually pretty good. Okay, let's see what this is.
Kurda.
Kurda. Okay. I think I got that one right. Is it Kufi? This also could be unique to the world. I don't know. Oh, no. Okay.
Kufi.
Kufi. Okay. Was there another one in there? No, I think Scarf is right. All right, Kurtan Kufi. Okay, cool. Blue. Okay. Scarf and the kufi Lee had embroidered for him, all of which he pushed into a sack. Okay. Push that back a little bit. Okay. Let's jump back in. Into a sack. He had to go quickly if he meant to avoid her, because she couldn't abide much sun. Nights were Lee's days. She'd be fishing. I was going to say fishing. It's finishing. Days. She'd be finishing her chores and coming back to the cabin to sleep at any moment. Sid collected a pair of logs from the hearth, put them in his cot, and pulled up the blanket, hoping they looked something like a sleeping boy. Creeping back across the main room, Sid laid the pouch of coins on the mantel. Then he put a finger inside the pouch and drew out a coin. He pushed it back. Then he pulled it out again. Finally, he pushed himself away and left the coins. If this woman is a slaver from Mephiston, I'll run, but I'll not give her coin back. Let her try to get them from Red. Coin back. Let her try to get them from Red. Covering most of the room's floor, the giant snorted. Red. Covering most of the room's floor, the giant snorted and rolled onto his side. No blanket, no pillow, as still as stone. The giant's breath had become as soft as a summer's breeze. Singular. The giant, still a stone. The giant's breath had become as soft as a summer breeze. Sid, still a stone. The giant's breath had become as soft as a summer breeze. Sid knew she... breeze. Sid knew he should wake him and explain the whole thing. Instead, he pressed his hands together and bowed to Red, then slipped his feet into his boots, hitched the sack of clothes on his shoulder, and softly pulled the door closed behind him. It was hard to tell ground from sky in the morning fog that curled and heaved around the cabin. Sound was dulled as well, and he could barely hear Lee in the barn humming the same tune from the night before. When Sid tiptoed away to his mother's cairn on the edge of the meadow, he breathed easier. He bowed to the small mound of stones. Should he feel bad that he was alive when she was not? There was nothing he could do about that. She would not want him to. She would want him.
Not. Not.
There was nothing he could do about that. She would want him to do well. Red had always said that much. Looking back toward the cabin, or where he thought the cabin was, Sid suddenly became unsure of things inside and out. He tightened his grip on his... He tightened his grip on his sack and sprinted down the hillside and across the creek. The fog was still thick when he started up the hill on the other side, and he was grateful for it, planning to slip into the edge of the woods unseen in order to Let's try it again. Planning to... Grateful for it, planning to slip into the edge of the woods unseen in order to discover... Grateful for it, planning to slip into the edge of the woods unseen in order to discover more about this rich woman. Grateful for it, planning to slip into the edge of the woods unseen in order to discover more about this rich woman. Unable to see his past. Rich woman. Unable to see past his own feet and hearing nothing, Sid walked as quickly as he could, but the hill went on and on. He had begun to question his plan's soundness and worry that the woman and her party might have left already. Tummy gargles right as I was about to start again. Oh. He had begun to question his plan's soundness and worry that the woman and her party might have left already, when a man's voice called, "Announce yourself, or suffer in silence." Well, so much for stealth. "Sid Saul, of the Western Woods." There was some muffled noise. Is he laughing? Then the voice told him to come forward. Was there a tummy grumble in there? There was some muffled noise. Is he laughing? Then the voice told him to come forward. No, okay. Forward. A long-haired nobleman wearing a thick... Ochcon. It's an ochcon. Forward. A long-haired nobleman wearing a thick ochcon and tall boots held a drawn crossbow aimed at him. He wore a brass brooch shaped like a tree on his shoulder, but Sid hardly noted these details because of the huge wolf crouched at the noble's side. The wolf's gaze shifted from Sid to the noble, as if seeking permission to spring upon him and rip him into pieces. "The Maharani awaits, and she is not patient," the noble said, gesturing uphill toward a dark fringe of woods that Sid could barely make out. "I knew she was telling the truth." The noble said, gesturing uphill toward a dark fringe of woods that Sid could barely make out. "I knew she was telling the truth." "I knew she was telling the truth." "I knew she was telling the truth." I thought I heard it like repeating for some reason. Like doubling. That was weird. Alright. Yeah, I think I did miss that one ad break, but that's fine. We might have another one coming up here, which I'm probably going to miss again. But we sail without it. Oh, you know what? I wonder if maybe it's because this got reset. Nope. Not the case. Okay. She was telling the truth. Okay. So I was like hearing it or something. Maybe it's through these other things. Okay. Telling the truth. Telling the truth. Making a small bow, Sid passed quickly, looking back twice to make sure the wolf didn't follow. A few steps farther, and he saw a light glowing in the fog. 2 figures appeared. The torchbearer was a small, dark-skinned man, wrapped in white cloth from neck to ankle, and behind him, the Rani. She wore a long, fitted coat, and a chain dripping with amethyst circled her head. Yeah, I was right. I don't know why I thought I said that wrong. And a chain dripping with amethyst circled her. She wore a long... The Rani. She wore a long, fitted coat, and a chain dripping with amethyst circled her head, holding her dupatta in place. I think that's...
Dupada. Dupada.
With Geico, we can easily...
With Geico. Not a sponsor of the stream.
Meaning of Dupada.
Dupada.
I hate all these, like... Where's the one, like, guy that does all these? All right, we're going with dupatta for right now. Circled her hand, holding... Tummy rumblings right now anyway, so we'll wait till they calm down. Okay. Hopefully you're all enjoying the story so far. I think it's really good. And we're almost done here. And when we get done, remind me, I'll probably remember, but remind me when I go back upstairs, we'll finish off the stream up there. I'll give you the link to purchase the book if you like what you've heard so far. So, okay. Holding her hand, holding her dupatta in place. Sid pressed his palms together and bowed deeply. Your decision, Sid Soul. I am hearing a... Your decision, Sid Soul. Yeah, I'm hearing it duplicate. I don't know why all of a sudden I can hear it more, but I think it's probably from here. So let me unplug this, because I don't need that in the sound. Your decision, Sid Soul. Okay. Your decision, Sid Soul. Clean that up a little bit. His palms together and bowed deeply. Your decision, Sid Soul. There we go. Okay. Was all this... Okay. Holding her dupatta in place. Sid pressed his palms together and bowed deeply. Your decision, Sid Soul. Let me go back. Amethyst circled her hand, holding her dupatta in place. Sid pressed his palms together and bowed deeply. Your decision, Sid Soul. Okay, cool. Just making sure it wasn't like picking up the duplication. There's this weird echo. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but I could hear it. Maybe not, because it has a little bit of a cleanup filter on the stream, and I'm not sure about the audio fidelity, but I could hear it like slightly, which definitely don't want that in there. Okay. Sid Soul. I accept your majesty's offer. I promise to gladly and faithfully serve you. Saatkulom. I see what he's... Okay. And faithfully serve you. His offer. I Majesty's offer. I promise to gladly and faithfully serve you. Saatkulom, I mean. It seemed that the Rani relaxed a little upon hearing this. She reached out to him, and he hesitantly... I mean... It seemed that the Rani relaxed a little upon hearing this. She reached out to him, and he hesitantly gave her his hand. Why can't I say hesitantly? Hesitantly. It is the bane... Saatkulom, I mean. It seemed that the Rani relaxed a little upon hearing this. She reached out to him, and he hesitantly gave her his hand. The noble Sid had just passed, emerged from the fog. Someone else approaches, he said. You will stop him, brother, the Rani said, but do not fire unless it is on my order. The noble nodded and disappeared again. I assume it is your guardian? Yes, probably, Sid mumbled. Did he not agree with your decision? I didn't tell him I was leaving. The Rani exhaled slowly. I see. And the gold? I left it in the cabin. The Rani looked away into the fog, but did not release his hand. Well, this is unfortunate, but I am prepared to ensure that you fulfill your promise to me. Tummy rumbles. Me. Promise to me. Come on, Tummy. Calm down. It's like it knows. It knows. We're almost done. It's going to start acting up. Promise to me. From far away, a pounding sound grew louder and closer, and Sid knew Red was stomping toward them. Ahead, he heard the noble order the giant to stop. The stomping ceased. The Rani, Sid, and the torchbearer advanced. At first, Sid only... The Rani... advanced. At first, Sid saw only the black of the noble, bow drawn, talwar sheathed on his hip. Advanced. At first, Sid saw only the back of the noble, bow drawn, talwar sheathed on his hip. The wolf was on its feet, looking away from them, and growling deep in its throat. Several paces behind the noble, the Rani paused, still holding Sid's right hand tight. Several paces behind the noble, the Rani paused, still holding Sid's hand tight. She took the torch from the bearer. I am the Maharani of Saatkulom, head of the House of Duran. What is your business with my party, giant? Sid caught glimpses of the bare-chested red giant in the swirling mist. He towered over them. His arms hung by his sides like a young... His arms hung by his sides like young oak trunks, and his hands were curled into fists. There was a deep grating sound coming from him. He was grinding his teeth. The boy is my charge. Was your charge, the Rani corrected. This youth came to me of his free will. He has decided to accept my offer to begin service, and I believe he has left his first cycle's wages to support you while he is gone. The giant said nothing, but his eyes were fixed on Sid. The Rani said very slowly, You have fulfilled your obligation as his guardian. In a croaking voice that was more like a small rock slide, Reed. I combined Red and Sid into Reed. All of a sudden, We went to Texas. Red showed up. In a croaking voice that was more like a small rock slide. Rock slide. Red said, Sid? Sid heard Lingli somewhere in the field beyond calling his name. Sid heard Lingli somewhere in the field beyond calling his name. I will tolerate no more delay, the Rani said harshly. Leave this boy and my party at peace. You must know that I have more than one defender here. The red giant shook his head and moaned so loudly Sid cringed. Leaving Red like this was bad enough. He did not want to see Lee. He shouted, I'm going, Red. I want to go. You'll be proud, I promise. The Rani put her arm around his shoulders. We are leaving now. Trust my word, giant. When I say you are safe from my party if you do not pursue us, you are not safe if you advance another step. The choice is yours. She handed the torch back to the small man, and Sid let her lead him a few steps uphill. She handed the torch back to the small man, and Sid let her lead him a few steps uphill toward the forest. But he looked back in time to see Lingli emerge from the mist, running fast. The red giant bellowed at her. The noble raised his bow. The noble bellowed at her. The noble raised his bow as the wolf sprang forward. Pulling away from the Rani, Sid yelled, No! Stop! The Rani gasped, then boxed his ears so hard his head rattled. When he opened his eyes, sharp white lights like swarming bees combined with the mist to obscure everything. When he opened his eyes, sharp white lights like swarming bees combined with the mist to obscure everything but the angry woman next to him. He couldn't hear. He looked at the Rani in utter surprise and not a little fear. She roughly dragged him. Tummy gurgles right at the last sentence. Little fear. She roughly dragged him. Little fear. She roughly dragged him with her up the remainder of the hill and into the forest. And not a little fear. She roughly dragged him with her up the remainder of the hill. And I'm so afraid of tummy rumbles I can't even read. Here we go. A little fear. She roughly dragged him with her up the remainder of the hill and into the forest. If to add insult to injury, there's a tummy rumble right at the end. Forest. But not until after I spoke. Okay, cool. All right, well, there we go. Main portion of the recording done. Done. So, basically, next steps for this, and I don't know if you all would be interested in seeing this part of the process. I don't know. Let me know if you would or not. But I'm going to take it and kind of go through, clean it up, and do a little mastering on it. And then when it's all said and done, then it'll actually get sent off to LA here, and they can use it for promotions or whatever they want, and yeah, promote that book. Really good story. And remind me when I get back up there to give you a link to the book, just in case you liked the book so far and you wanted to pick yourself up a copy. Let me go back and re-record one line, because I just remembered I messed up that word. I underlined it. There we are. And now we just got to find it. I was probably back here. See, that turned out to be unedited. About a little over almost 33 minutes. It's a pretty good first chapter. Okay, let's see. Where are we at right here? Sid Soul.
I accept your majesty's offer.
Nope, much later than that.
Fire, unless it is on my... It's unfortunate, but I am prepared to ensure that you fulfill your promise.
Oh, wait, no. Wait.
And you saw a light glowing in the fog. 2 figures appeared.
Nope, we're way further back than that.
The fog was still thick when he...
Nope. Back than that.
Earth, put them in his cot, and pulled up the blanket.
I think that's still... I think that might have been when he first arrived. So then we're... Okay, so we're on... Oh no, we're actually right here. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Sticks and stones. Okay. Cooked, that's what it'll taste like.
Every season, I could build a fine house, and build you one too, and we could have new clothes. Who says we need anything finer than this? Besides, you would likely lose the coin before you could spend it. You don't know
Bluetooth
everything,
stopped working.
Lee. She grabbed her cloak and a vegetable basket.
Yeah, there we go. Alright. Oh wait. No, where was that at?
A guard can earn a good bit of coin every cycle. How would you know? Lee asked. If...
Coin every cycle. I think that's still ahead of where we need to be because that was back a little bit further, right? Yeah, I think that was back a little bit. Let's try around 19.
Stayed for 3 before disappearing again. Everyone knew these 3 bright cycles were ill-starred and prone to calamities that had climbed up from the creek. Laughed Whitty. Surely not when he sees the gold. You should go to bed.
Okay, I think that's after still, because I think she tells him that. Okay, so that's up here, page 9. We need to go to 8, 7, bottom of 6. Oh, okay, so that's a couple of minutes back, probably here. Let's try here.
At him. We are travelers.
A little forward of that.
That she and the giant were not his true family. As the moons passed, this message brought him to a stark conclusion. As soon as he could figure it too, but for the last several moons, the thought had become as loud as his own heartbeat. He had to leave this place as again. Everyone knew these 3 bright cycles.
Yeah, well, it's going to take me too long to find this. Let me give me one more shot here, and if I can't find it here in the next couple seconds, I'm just going to end the stream.
And then Afsana died, just a few seasons later. The more he became convinced that involving Red would doom the entire property. Red with questions about where he... Sid sat on a stool near the door, sharpening his small... to their chores with spirit-numbing predictability. Lee cleaned their thallus and...
I found it.
Lee cleaned...
Right there. Okay. So it's Talis. Lee cleaned their tallis and cups. There we go. And then we'll graft that one in there, shall we? All right, so we're going to mute that. Set this one up to record. Put that on this track. And we're not going to record on that one. Okay, right here. Lee cleaned their tallis and cup. Lee cleaned their tallis and cups with ash from the fireplace. Okay. Place. Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and delete that one. Move this recording up here to that one. And then unarm that track. Mute this one again. Boom. There we go. Situate that mamba jamba in place.
Numbing predictability. Lee cleaned their tallis and cups with ash from the fireplace. The giant twisted long stems of household performed their chores with spirit-numbing predictability. Lee cleaned their tallis with spirit-numbing predictability. Lee cleaned their tallis and cups with ash from the fireplace. The giant twisted long stems of horse grass.
Okay. Pretty good for timing. We can clean that up a little bit later. Okay, let me export this one, and then we'll clean her up later, probably off stream, because I'm sure that'll be boring to watch, right? Unless you're interested, then let me know. But let's see here, unmuted track, so we want to export that. So, boop. All right, and we're just going to put that into that folder right there. And we're just going to go Stonebound Heir. Rawa. Mono. Okay, good. Boop. All right. Yeah, 32 minutes, 57 seconds. Not bad. It's pretty good, meaty first chapter there. And hopefully that gave you a pretty good introduction into the book. And you kind of got a feel for maybe some of our characters here. And you want to read more. And if you do, good. I'll leave you some links down below. Actually, I might be able to... okay, let me catch up with chat here. Yes, it's earlier after dinner. Yeah, I just thought on the witch's voice. She's tough. Think B. Arthur. Ooh, okay. I can kind of go back and give her a little bit different flavoring. Probably after this, but I'm sure people don't want me to go back and watch me do a voice 800 times, right? Let's see here. Oh, you're telling me how to say it here. Dupata. I think I might have looked that one up, but now I got to go back and make sure I said that one right. But I'll make a little note for myself. Dupata. All right. Okay. Oops. Can you hear the tummy rumbling? It's so annoying while you're trying to record. I keep losing it. There we go. P-A-H. Okay. There we go. And I'll double check that one too. Make sure I have a good... Sometimes I find if I can find somebody... yeah, you have Dupata down. Okay, cool. Sometimes I find that doing research for pronunciation of words, if I can find somebody actually saying it, if it's, an Indian word or something, if I can find an Indian person saying the word or, whatever it may be, a German saying the word, it's way better, right? Although there is something to be said about anglicizing some words, right? So as
if your primary audience is going to be an English-speaking audience, there are certain words that in English we have butchered, but that's how you're used to hearing them. So the pronunciation will sometimes, more often than not, go towards the anglicized version of whatever the word is versus like a true pronunciation of, you know, the word in that particular like accent and inflection and how they would say it. One, because our alphabets are different, and then two, it can kind of, and it's probably more so with nonfiction than fiction, depending again upon the genre, but it'll kind of take you out of the story. Like I've listened to I'm a big World War II history buff, and I've listened to quite a few audiobooks about World War II, and there's a lot of places in France and Germany and, you know, words that, you know, would be thrown around, you know, on a battlefield or whatever, or even, you know, pronunciations of names can get anglicized too. And it's weird when you hear something that there's a common anglicized pronunciation for something, and then somebody tries to do the true pronunciation. It like takes you out of it. You know what I mean? Like just tell me it's Sturm. You don't have to go Sturm all of a sudden. Like it's kind of weird and off-putting, you know? And I don't know. I guess it comes down, it's down to the rights holder. What does the author want you to do? And, you know, if you're working for, you know, a company like Podium or whatever their editors are kind of telling you, hey, this is what you're going to do, then that's what you do. But for me personally, it's like when you go too authentic, all of a sudden, when it's not been that, it's a little weird. But then again, like with something that's like a fantasy story or sci-fi, or I think the listener is more apt to kind of have that suspension of disbelief, right? Like if they're not going to be taken out as much with like a weird word or an inflection on a word, because that's what they're used to, right? Like, you know, there's no Yavin, right? But there is in Star Wars, so however you want to say that word, say it, right? But anyways, all right, cool. So I will go back and I'll probably work on that voice just a little bit. She only had like 2 lines or something, and then I'll work on that and crunch it down in my own time. But anyways, I'm going to cut us over now to the stream upstairs, and we'll talk for a little bit, shall we? Enjoy a little bit more of our whiskey, and again, give you the link so you can get the book if you want it. All right, so let me put us on. Looks like there's going to be an ad in about 50 seconds, so good timing. It'll probably take me about that long to get upstairs back into the streaming room, so let me switch us over to that. And everybody on Instagram, you will just see an empty chair, I guess. I don't know. That's probably what'll happen, but I got to figure that out for next time. Mental note. All right. And all righty. Did my headset turn off? It certainly did. Let me turn it back on so I have audio. Yay. There we go.
All right. Hey, we're back. Let me plug one more time, like I said I was going to. That information there in Twitch and in YouTube about where you can pick up the book, a little bit about the author, and yeah, more importantly, if you liked the story, where you can purchase it. The whole book. All right, let me see here. And then on Instagram, I didn't forget. I got y'all too. Here is the link. There you go. To the book. Alrighty. So I think that'll pretty much do it. Really, all that we have left here is just a couple of lines to redo, like I was saying, and then getting it out to LA to use for promo or whatever. And then I think going forward, this is probably what we'll do. I don't know. We'll give it a couple more tries to see if this feels right, if people like it. Doing the actual, like, hey, no kidding, this is how an audiobook is recorded. Or if they just want like a straight read through without, and then I do the recording later. Doesn't really matter to me, although killing two birds with one stone is mighty nice. I will admit, but I don't really care for the stream, I guess, as far as it goes. Although I would like to start doing, I think, and maybe this next book, maybe I'll start doing some actual live streams here on Twitch of me recording the actual audiobook, the whole thing from kind of start to finish. I probably won't do it on YouTube, just because it's kind of, I don't know, it'd be kind of weird to have like a recording of the thing that's going to be on Audible already on YouTube, although it won't be edited, right? It'll be the raw thing, but I don't know. It feels kind of weird to have it like in two places, and keeping a recording of it, I guess, would mean technically it's available on YouTube and Audible. And the contract right now that I have through ACX and Audible and with the author is exclusivity through Audible. So maybe not on YouTube. Unless there's a way I can live stream on YouTube without it retaining the video. I'll look into that. But definitely on Instagram and Twitch, I think I'll be doing the next book live, the whole thing. You can see the whole thing if you'd like, and watch me stumble through how to say words like shouldered. Can't string words together sometimes. It's great. And all the tummy rumbles you can dream of, right? I think that is the plan, though. I'm thinking about maybe doing a little bit of streaming too on TikTok. So maybe I'll do maybe we'll do, instead of YouTube, we'll do TikTok, Instagram, and Twitch. Maybe we'll do that. That sounds like fun. There's the game plan going forward. I'm glad you could be here to help me out with that and help me through it. All right. Well, I think that pretty much does it. Thank you, everybody, for joining me so far. Thank you, if you're on Instagram there, for joining me live. I appreciate it. And appreciate you, LA, joining in and watching the whole thing and providing me some pronunciation help as I stumbled through some of it. And I'll work on that and get it out to you here soon. Yeah, I think that pretty much does it. So I will see you all next time. I think the next stream will be next Monday. And what is the date to that? It's next month, right? Next Monday is next month. Yep. The 2nd next month, Monday. And that'll be same time, 6 p.m. PST for Macabre Monday. And that one's going to be cool. Don't miss that one. It's going to be a much longer stream than we've been doing normally. I just started doing some work for another horror podcast that likes to have narrations of short horror stories. But these short horror stories are much longer than the ones that I do for the other stories. So I'll probably combine both, maybe do a couple of the other stories shorts in there, and then do one for this other one. So I got to talk to them about what links they want me to share and everything. But they said it's a go and we can do it. So next Monday, 6 p.m. PST for Macabre Monday, and we'll be reading some short horror stories. followed by that Wednesday with another Whiskey Wednesday. It's going to be a little different though. Like I was saying kind of at the beginning of the stream, but I think you all enjoy it. So I'll see you all then. Monday, if you can't. Wednesday, if you can't. Monday, if you can't. The next Wednesday. You know how it goes. I'll see you then. Bye. All right. Now on YouTube, I will bid you all adieu as well. Vivek says, great book. I'm hooked. Awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I liked it too. It was really good. I enjoyed it as well. So pick yourself up a copy if you really liked it there. And then the link that I gave for it has it's like the short link that has all of the different places you can buy it. So if like you're not a big fan of Amazon, like a lot of people aren't these days, you can buy it at the other places like Barnes & Noble and things like that. They have a link there for all the places that you can pick it up there as well, which I think is super, super cool. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy. I'll see you all next Monday. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll do a little raid on Twitch, and I'll see you